The truth behind the cipher with Catastrophe, better known as TASH, and FatLip from Pharcyde. Okay? Now, in hip hop, period, throughout the years, there's always been rap groups. And normally there's somebody in a rap group that performs so great that the partner is almost forgotten about, and he's more of the supporting cast out of the group. And people can't wait for the group to split up so that that one person can come out and make his own album. Groups in the beginning weren't made that way. Like, nobody wanted to see Houdini split up. Nobody wanted to see Run make a solo album. Nobody wanted to see Chuck D solo album. You wanted to see Public Enemy. But as groups become more of two and just a bunch of two individuals together, people yearn to see groups split up. Like the Ghetto Boys, how the Ghetto Boys came out, and when they did, it was like, wow, where they come from? And what you had was three single rappers, individual rappers, own styles, who was forced into a group. So they were already solo artists, just forced into a group like format. And once NWA, which was a group that ended up turning out to be individuals. But like Outkast, Tribe Called Quest. When Tribe came out, everybody thought it was clear that Q-Tip is the talent. Q-Tip is the one out of the group that we can't wait to see leave Phife behind or drop a solo album. Q-Tip is the one. He's gonna make the album of all albums. We waiting on him. We waiting on that, and people anticipation. But sometimes the artists don't feel it like it's the right thing to do because everybody's pushing for it. So Phife was the first one to come out and drop his own CD once he got a little buzz. And they was like, oh, Phife stepped it up. And then you seen the same thing happen with Andre from Outkast. He was the next one. He's the greatest rapper. When Andre leaves and goes and does his own CD, he's gonna be the next greatest thing on earth. And you've seen it, Jadakiss, Lloyd Banks, and there was a guy on the West Coast from a little small group called the Alkaholiks, named Catastrophe, aka TASH. When people heard TASH rhyme, mostly on the Alkaholiks album, he was just better than everybody else on the CD. He was better than everybody that rapped with him. And then people didn't know why. They're like, how was this guy this much better than us? What are we doing wrong that this guy is doing right? Like, he's really this much better than us. What's the problem? Let's see what it is. And it was mainly because he had a Midwest flow. He came from Ohio as like a teenager and moved to LA. So by the time he came there, he grew up on East Coast rap. And by the time he blended that with his West Coastness, it was bars and metaphors and the style with some West Coast flavor to it. But Taz could easily bond with East Coast rappers because he knew their style. Like, he grew up on it. He knew Midwest style, Midwest flow, things, of current events with Midwest that we talk about. You know, and he could blend all those into a rhyme and make people like, hey, who is this? So when TASH was doing his thing, and their second CD came out, Coast to Coast, this was solidifying Catastrophe TASH as one of the prominent rappers out. Steve Rifkin from Loud Records, who they were signed to, decided that I'm going to put all the artists on your album. They had a crazy budget because they had so much buzz. They wanted to put Keith Murray, LL, Old Dirty Bastard. They got that album loaded. But it wasn't, no, was it that album? No, it wasn't even that album. It wasn't Coast to Coast that they did that on. It was after Coast to Coast they did that. But for this album, they were really pushing for it. Because they didn't get like all the superstar, people on this one. But they still got some good talent and people in there, Exhibit, King T, and all that stuff. But the other album had all the major players. That's where the liquidation, that's where the money went into. But Coast to Coast was the album that they just said, okay, they said this TASH is legit. The Alkaholiks are for real. So all of a sudden, Read My Lips was the second song on there. And he's spitting on there and just, man, all of them got off really on the song, but TASH just tore that song apart. So they're on tour doing shows. And also there was another hot group that came up with a follow-up CD from the hit Passing Me By, is the Pharcyde. And then you got Souls of Mischief. So it's a West Coast show. You got Alkaholiks, Souls of Mischief, you got Pharcyde, and it was some other groups on there. I want to say it wasn't Another Level. It could have been Another Level. Another Level. They was cool with the Pharcyde at the time. Let me take you. DJ, your black selection. Okay, yeah. Yeah, probably was Another Level. But anyway, they all cool, they all boys. So in the back, the shows ain't really kicked off yet. They have some local acts coming out there doing their thing, and everybody's back there, like the producers and talking to TASH, like we're gonna give you a solo album. Like they weren't even thinking about doing Liquidation at this time. This is 95, like towards the summer of 95, and they talking about TASH getting a solo album. Like, we're gonna put up a budget, we're gonna get you a TASH solo album, everybody wants to see it, everybody wanna work with you, like all the other artists, we're gonna have Wu-Tang in there, we're working with you. So he's excited. TASH is like, yeah, let's get it. So while TASH is like, well, man, let's get it. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Let's make it happen. All of a sudden, everything stops. Because a cipher kicks off. Exhibits in the cipher. You got, who else was there? Just the Pharcyde, all of them there. And they all kicking it in the cipher, just freestyling, going for it. So another A&R was there, and the tour promoter and a couple other dudes was there, and everybody's going at it, and TASH is just sitting there, and the Pharcyde's rapping, and my goodness, I don't know what happened, but TASH went and he said a line that he had used in the rhyme. And it was like one of his old rhymes. Then FatLip went at it. Boo, 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 what up? And FatLip is all freestyle, and you could tell, and his delivery from the freestyle was sick. So it was like, woo! So when Taz came back in, I'm gonna come in off that. But it looked like when Taz came back in, like he was challenging FatLip. So everybody in the cipher kind of stopped and let them two go at it. And it wasn't like that for Taz. Taz wasn't challenging FatLip. He just was trying to add on to what FatLip was saying. So when he came in and started rhyming and threw his lines in, it wasn't a battle. So when FatLip came back, Taz really had nothing left. He came back like, oh, it's on me again? Like, oh, wow. Because FatLip just went on and on, and freestyle broke down. And he wasn't attacking Taz. He was just out rhyming him. Almost. So it's like he's winning. He's out rapping you. Like, his freestyle is just was way far advanced for Taz. Then Taz tried to freestyle because he had nothing else left to do and go on. And he's out there trying to freestyle, and he's just out there saying words, and nothing is sticking. It's just out there. And it was like, wow. And he was stuck. And that's when the Pharcyde jumped in, like, nah, let's save it for the show. We done. Everybody dapped it up. It was all good. Yeah, that's tight. Then it was talked like, man, dude was just out there. What was that? Like, Taz, he just froze. And Taz knew, like, and his boy was like, see, that's why I don't freestyle. The dude from Pharcyde, I forgot his name, but he was like, I don't freestyle, dude. I'm not, this is why I don't do it. He was just out there, bad. Booty out. So they, Taz, it's getting back to it because everybody know, a rapper know. So Taz wasn't comfortable with making this solo album at the time. He was like, no, let me just keep going with the Alkaholiks. He wanted to do Liquidation. He's like, he put it on hold. Like, no, it ain't ready yet. We'll take our time. And he, like Steve Rifkin's like, well, all right, well, I want to do it while it's hot. And he wanted to do another album. Like, no, let me just focus on the album, then we'll start thinking about the career. But it took him 4 years after that to drop his solo album, his first solo album. So that's something to think about. 4 years later to drop his solo album because of a cipher. If anybody had that on tape, oh my goodness, please play that. Please bring that up. I think FatLip is DJing now. If somebody could call him up, tell him that must have been the freestyle from hell. To put doubt in another MC, to want to come out and drop an album. That's what MC's about. They dropping your album, seeing your name in lights, name on your album. To put that off for 4 years.